In this video, I'm going to show you how you can add a year-to-date drill through to your profit and loss report in Power BI. In the example, we're looking at a departmental profit and loss financial year to June 2019. So this is a company whose financial year starts in April and runs through to the end of March. And we're looking at first 3 months, April, May and June. So we're looking at year-to-date to the 30th of June. Now, when you do a drill through in Power BI, what happens is it carries through to the drill through page all the filters that you have selected when you're doing the drill through. And straight away we can see the problem that we have, because on this page we've got the financial year, which is financial year 2020, which is okay. But then we've got a month selector, which is I've just selected the month of June. But the context of this page is year to date. So actually what I'm displaying, profit and loss for April, May and June. But the filters that will pass through to my year-to-date drill-through page will just be for the month of June. And yet I want to display that drill-through for April and May and June. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can do that. Firstly, let's actually have a look at, see how we've set up this profit and loss page, because that'll give us a clue as to how to set up our drill-through page. The profit and loss calculation that I'm using on this page is effectively, it's a generic profit and loss measure that I've called PL actual or profit and loss actual. Then I'm using the calculate function with a filter on my dates table to effectively use but override filter of this June and financial year, basically to give me the dates of April, May and June to display within this report. And essentially that's exactly what I want to do in my drill through page. So let's go and set up the drill through page. I'll call it year-to-date P&L drill through. What I would like on this page is just a simple table showing me all of the details of all of the transactions that are behind any of those profit and loss summaries for the year-to-date period selected. So I'm going to use a table visualization. And actually, before we start adding anything, I'll just show you very briefly what the model looks like. We've got a very simple model. We've got a transaction lines table. We've got a dates table, which is filtering the transaction lines table. We have a customers table and our nominal records table that contains the chart of accounts and nominal hierarchy. We go back to our visual. What I'll do is I'll drop in my account number from my nominal records table. I'll pick up it's basically the details I want from my transaction lines table. Now, here's the first little trick that I'm going to do. I'm going to use the date from my transaction lines table, not from my dates table. The reason for this is simple, because actually I'm not wanting to filter by the date in my dates table, but I do want to use the date as a reference point. So effectively what I want to do is in this drill through table, I'm wanting to use the date effectively as an attribute of the transaction and not as a filter. So I'm using the date from my transaction lines table. I'll add the department name, the details. These are all the kinds of things that you might want on your drill through. Let's add the gross amount and the net amount, and we'll add a transaction number, and let's add the transaction type. Now this in itself isn't going to work, okay? Because if we use this as our drill through table and we come from our profit and loss year to date table, it'll carry through the filters, it'll carry through the months, it'll carry through this month slicer which is set to June, but actually what I want is April, May and June. And we're going to get around that by using our year-to-date measure that we created for the profit and loss, this PL actual year-to-date. So we're going to add that to our visualization, and that's the key to this, or at least it's one of the keys. And I'm going to call that P&L posting. Now, of course, there are a lot of transactions in my transactions table that don't form part of my profit and loss posting. This is a P&L drill through, so the key here is actually if I filter my table where my P&L posting amount is not blank, okay, we're just about there. So now if I use my PL actual year to date as my drill through field, That means when I drill through from the other table, it's going to carry the filters that it's got set on that field. It's going to filter this table based on any values I have in my P&L posting amount, which is my P&L transactions year to date. So let's take a quick look at that. There are a couple of other things that we need to do to make this work properly, but let's just have a look in a kind of so far so good manner. If we go back to our year to date P&L report. Now let's just say I wanted to filter on this sales of product type 7, nominal code 4150 for department pharmacy. If I right click on that, year to date, go to drill through, year to date profit and loss drill through, and it is actually showing me all my transactions, but there's a small problem I have. See all these gaps here in the gross amount and the net amount. Let's just sort here on the date and see what's happening. So actually what we can see is that for April and May, we've got the transactions there, but not the gross amount and the net amount. That's blank. And then we've only got the gross amount and net amount for the month of June, which was the months we had selected in the profit and loss tab. So the reason that's happening is because I have auto summarization set on these gross amount and the net amount. And when you have an auto summarization set, it's picking up the filter context from that auto summarization. Of course, the filter context here, it knows nothing about the filter context that's been modified by the profit and loss actual year to date measure, which is only affecting this field here. So it sees no data. It sees no data at all because the date field is filtered on June only. So it doesn't see transactions for April and May. But we can get around that by removing the auto summarization off the gross amount and the net amount. So in our values field here, if we just select don't summarize, and we can do the same for the net amount. And in fact, make sure you're not doing that on anything else, because which we're not, which is fine, because we wanted to make sure we include every element of every transaction, that we're not actually summarizing the transactions. There we have it. What we have is a year-to-date drill through. We selected the department pharmacy for April, May and June, which is what we've got, and here, and the nominal code 4150, and here are all the transactions that make that up. Got the gross amount, the net amount, the transaction number, the transaction type, the profit and loss posting amount, and the details, and any other attribute that we want to bring in there. So we could add the customer name if we wanted. Let's just add that after the details. And we can just try one or two other combinations as well. So we had April, May and June selected there. Let's just select April and May. Look at our purchases. And then we have our purchases for nominal code 5000 for April and May. So remember to add a year-to-date profit and loss drill through. The trick is to use a measure to calculate your year-to-date values and use your measure then to filter your drill through table. Remember to turn off any auto summarization that you have maybe on any other amount fields that you've got dragged in. Remember to use the date field from your transactions table, not your date dimensions table. And away you go.